Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 74th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. While technically speaking, Digital Underground's seminal debut is a 90s release, it's one of those cases where I felt like it fit more snugly into the pantheon of 1980s classics, and not at all because it aged badly, it's just a song like the Humpty Dance sounds closer to what was going on in 1988 than it does the stuff that would come out in 1992 like The Chronic. Regardless of what decade this classic technically falls under, Shock G and Company released one of the most ambitious and forward-thinking concept albums hip-hop had seen at the time. While of course they had other prominent names like Money B, Stretch, or DJ Fuse, even Tupac famously got his start with the underground. The roster is so massive and ever changing, it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly which members were in the group at which time. Of course, it takes a village, but you really can't deny that Shock G, who sadly passed away in 2021, was the true heart and soul of Digital Underground. I may be mistaken, and if I am, please let me know down below in the comments, but as far as I know, this was hip hop's first real concept album. When I was researching and trying to find what's considered hip hop's earliest truly conceptual undertaking, the first thing I saw said how Kool Keith had been the one to initially present that with his 1996 Dr. Octagon Ecologist. While that classic is still well ahead of its time and its concept is more out there even than this LP, much more credit is due to Shock G and the Underground, from the first rap LP with a direct concept with Sex Packets to the first rapper to truly excel with an alter ego through Humpty Hump. Even without these, Shock is someone I feel deserves more placements on top rapper lists of all time, and it's undeniable that he was one of rap's most enigmatic and one-of-a-kind voices. To give a bit more context to what the actual idea behind this LP is, it was inspired by GSRA, or Genetic Suppression Relief Antidotes, a government-created and controlled substance that resembled a small glowing pill. They were delivered in condom-like packaging, and allegedly it was invented to provide a quote-unquote satisfying sexual experience to astronauts who were in situations where traditional sexual release would be either counterproductive or completely impossible. I don't believe these have been in any sort of circulation for a long time now. I don't even know if it was ever actually released for public consumption, since I know it's long been debunked, at least the science behind it. Regardless, I didn't even know about this experiment until I found this album, and it more just takes that idea and runs with it than it does sticking to exactly what happened in the reference material. They basically treat the packets like drugs on here, and there's skits where it'll sound like a typical crack deal, but instead it's for these magical, pleasure-filled capsules. I actually saw an interview a little while ago where Shock G, Tupac, and the rest of Digital Underground were in, I believe, Tokyo, and here they actually got a couple real sex packets from the interviewers who I think hadn't actually intended on giving them any. It was just a bit as part of the interview promoting their album. But Shock hilariously gets on his knees and begs for one, and they eventually comply, and then Pac and the others sort of just make them hand over more as a, well, you gave him some, why can't I have any? Along with their sense of humor, another practice in Bay Area and Cali hip hop in general that Digital Underground were early to was not feeling compelled to exclusively use West Coast sounds. I can't think of many artists this early in the 90s or even outside the Bay who were ambitious enough to have this attitude of, we don't care if we come from and operate in Oakland, we're going to make music in the style we enjoy and feel the most connection to. The tracks on here are mostly 5 minutes or more, resulting in a runtime that just cracks an hour and makes what was already a risky album even more experimental, with changing sections that flow together in a pretty progressive way. It also gives these songs time to breathe or build and helps the funky loops get engraved in your head. There's a wide pool of genres they pull samples from, whether it's rock and roll, R&B, soul, or jazz, complemented with classic golden age breaks and cuts. In my opinion, Shock G is one of the most gifted when it comes to talking his shit or putting down whack MCs, which he does on here almost non-stop. His smooth but unique voice is the perfect partner for his insanely clever and personable bars, and I think his wordplay and pen overall were above average at the time of Sex Packets. One verse that demonstrates exactly how they feel about trash rappers comes on the second track, and it's one of Shock's most iconic verses to date in my opinion. He lays down the law here with, MCs, you like the way that we swing? I hope you do, cause if you don't, it don't mean a thing. See, we don't play for other hip hop crews, it's not about you. We do the things that we want to do. We're MCs to please the loyal followers. But you're just a sucker hip hop swallower. Your real name is probably Bradworth or Bennett. Your verbal baggage ain't got nothing in it. This verse then loops back into the legendary hook. You think that you're rockin', but you're not hip hoppin', so you best stop jocking at the masters. There's also a totally different conceptual track within this album in which Shock G details his insane underwater adventures, and this song to me always seemed like the inspiration for the Ghostface song Underwater that would later be recorded for his highly underrated album Fish Scale. There's really something for every sensibility here, from the absurd and borderline comedic concept to the diverse set of topics and themes. Like I mentioned, Digital Underground also helped pioneer the type of Bay Area hip hop that didn't follow the trends most of their California contemporaries did by taking a notably more New York inspired approach. I think you can hear this aspect of their influence especially in other groundbreaking acts that would come out of Oakland in the following decade, like Souls of Mischief or really anyone else in the Hieroglyphics crew. This time around, my honorable mentions include the Humpty Dance, The Way We Swing, Got Fest 89, Edit, Do What You Like, the title track, and Packet Man. My top three favorite tracks overall would probably consist of The Danger Zone, Rhymin' on the Funk, and the Underwater Rhymes remix. Thank you for watching my 74th video. We only have one more Golden Age classic to go for this group, so I'm going to do one of the biggest game changers to come out of not just New York in the 80s, but the entire genre in general. So check for that upload, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite moments off this forward-thinking debut are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.